So, in so far as I can see, the demiurge is a perfectly logical explanation of how and why our universe, or more specifically our world, came to be, and why it is governed by the certain laws that it is. And logical, I should hasten to say, from one who is already theistic or looking for a theistic explanation of things. Specifically, one who's operating within the theistic framework, the Abrahamic theistic framework, right? So we know that in Christianity specifically, certain attributes are given to God. God is omnipresent, God is omniscient. Now, if this is in fact true, if God is all-knowing, if God is all-powerful, and moreover, if God is all good, right? Why do we see the presence of evil in our world? Something is not adding up there, right? Something is not adding up. So we can play around with these different, certain different things here to try and explain why it is that this contradiction exists. If God is all good, all powerful, and all knowing, why does evil abound in our world? How is it that it came to be? And demiurge is the Gnostic answer to this question. And the fact that the being that created our world is not in fact the actual God or source of all things is not actually unique to Gnosticism. In fact, as you may or may not know, one finds the evidence of such an idea on the very first page of the Old Testament in the Torah writings, right? The Jewish Torah writings, because the word Elohim, which is the name of the being that is set to create the world, is it's plural for a start. And so whether or not we're talking about God the good or God the demiurge, we're talking about multiple beings. So already there we have a kind of an interesting discrepancy and a deviation in what is taken to be the typical understanding of how things are in regards to the creation of the world and who was responsible for such. So yeah, that is the main thing I would say in regards to the demiurge. If one is looking for a theistic explanation, more specifically one that is consistent with the Abrahamic worldview, then the demiurge is a very good way to explain the presence of evil. And not just evil, but the how should I put it? Just the blunderous nature of the world. It's not something that, yes, of course, it's incredibly complex, but there's an element of just blunder to it. It's not entirely reflective of what an intelligent being would create. Right, for the simple fact that simple and basic, all-pervading fact that life is sustaining itself on other life. It has to cannibalize itself. Now, we know and understand, I believe, that that energy is all around us, right? It's ever present and consistently moving. And the fact that within our world there has to, the form in which this energy is being transferred has to, or take the shape that it does is evidence of this blunderousness that I talk about. Even a human being, intelligent human, wouldn't create such a system. And yet we attribute this work to a greater mind than ours, a greater intelligence than ours, upon which we are supposedly made in the image of. There's more things I could probably say about this, specifically like theistic idea of the demiurge. Maybe they'll come to me later. But that's all that's sort of forthcoming right now. The other thing I wanted to say in regards to the demiurge, my thoughts on it, is that there's also an interesting, should I say it, depth psychology interpretation of it. So I believe Jung it was, he studied extensively the Gnostics, and he considered them to be early forerunners of psychology, consider them to be kind of the first psychologists. And the reason for that is because their cosmology, the procession of these aeons and so on, it can have a psychological interpretation to it. And as this relates to the demiurge would probably best fit the role of, or be analogous to, the ego, insofar as the ego in ourselves, right, it takes credit for things which of which it has no part in at all. Believes it's the captain of the ship, when really it's just a passenger on the very, very precipice of much deeper and complex processes, right? That is what the ego is, and likewise that is what the demiurge is said to be. It believes it is, what are the words of Jehovah? I am the only God, there is no other God but me. That is what the demiurge believes, but analogous to the ego, it's nothing. It didn't create anything, and it really plays no part in anything, Do we breathe our breaths? Do we beat our heart? Do we think our thoughts even? No. We don't do any of this. And yet, from perspective of ego, it seems we seem like we have so much agency, so much ability to direct the course of our lives, but no. Well, anyway, that's all that's coming to me right now on this topic. But yeah, it's pretty vast. Much more can be said about it. Yeah, and I feel like it's important to add also as addendum that just because here I've presented two different sort of interpretations and perspectives on what the demiurge is and its nature, on the one hand being a literal theistic interpretation, this is a literal being that is responsible for the creation of the world, and then on the other hand a psychological interpretation that the demiurge is an analogy of the egoic mind, The point I want to make here is that these two seemingly disparate perspectives are, well, I don't know if I want to be so bold as to say are true, but they are not necessarily inconsistent with one another. In fact, what we typically see is in more esoteric worldview, and this will be abundantly obvious to anyone that's familiar with the Kybalion, is that the inner is reflective of the outer is reflective of the inner. In fact, it makes it more true, actually. It's not just simply a neat little analogous myth. It's actually a reflection of broader processes that are occurring in the macrocosm. It's as above, so below. That's what the meaning of this is. So, yeah, just wanted to add that.